Now we are looking at the returns outward book. Recall that we talked about the purchases day book that records goods purchased on credit. So think about the fact that it is not impossible to return out of what was purchased. Take for instance, you purchased goods worth 1 million naira. It is possible for you to return part of that goods to the person that you bought them from. And that takes us to the returns outward book. So the returns outward book records returns made out of purchases. What I am trying to say is that after purchasing for a particular month or a particular period or during a particular period, it is also possible that part of the products purchased is returned to the person we bought them from. The book that is used to record such a return is called the return outward book. It can also be referred to as the purchases returns book or the purchases returns journal or the returns outward journal. Just like the way the purchases day book is prepared, the same way the returns outward book is prepared, showing the date that the returns was made, the description of the goods that was returned, and the amount of the goods that was returned. At the end of the month also, the total is also transferred to general ledger for closing entries. Now, illustration explaining how the returns outward book is prepared. Remember, it is connected to your purchases. So in the question, you can see that the price of the goods returned is not stated. You are expected to refer to your purchases to know how much those products were bought, so as to know the amount to attach to each product that was returned. The same way we are looking at Mr. Yauvi is a wholesaler involved in distribution of flour and sugar. Then for the month of January 2020, he made the following purchases returns and has approached you to prepare a returns outward day book for him for the month. And these are the returns that were made. On January 2nd, return to Mr. Kingsley 100 bags of sugar and 200 bags of flour. Looking at the question, there's no cost attached to the returned product. But we remember that these were purchased from Mr. Kingsley at a particular cost per bag. That is what we're going to refer to get the cost of this product. Remember that sugar was purchased from Mr. Kingsley at 5,500 and flour was purchased from Mr. Kingsley at 4,500. You can always refer to our class in purchases day book. Now on January 2nd, he returned to Mr. Kingsley 100 bags of sugar and 200 bags of flour. So let's prepare. We have it prepared in the name of the owner of the business, in the name of the book, and the date. And then we have the first one here, 2nd of January. He returned to who? Mr. Kingsley. 100 bags of sugar. How much did we buy from him? 5,500. So we multiply 100 bags by 5,500. We have 550,000. He returned 200 bags of flour at 4,500 naira per bag. So if you multiply 200 by 4,500, you have 900,000. That gives us a total return of 1,450,000. On the 7th of January, return to Mr. Francis 200 bags of flour and 400 bags of sugar. First thing first, you must recall the cost of purchasing this product from Mr. Francis. You can refer back to the purchase daybook questions to get the cost. So here we have 7th of January 2020. Return to who? Mr. Francis. 200 bags of flour at 4,500 naira per bag, and that gives us 900,000. We have 400 bags of sugar at 5,500 naira per bag. That gives us 2,200,000. In total, the returns made was 3,100,000. On the 22nd January, okay, so that is for Mr. Francis. Now on the 22nd of January, he also returned to Mr. Hudson 200 bags of sugar. You have to recall the cost of purchasing the sugar from Mr. Hudson, which is 5,500. So we say 22nd of January 2020, return to who? Mr. Hudson. 200 bags of sugar at 5,500 naira per bag. The total here, that's saying 200 by 5,500, we have 1,100,000. On the 30th, he returned to Mr. Brown 100 bags of flour. Recall that we bought the bags of flour at 4,500 naira per bag from Mr. Brown. And if we're returning 100, it will be 30th of January 2020, return to who? Mr. Brown. 100 bags of flour at 4,500 naira per bag. You multiply 100 by 4,500, you have 450,000. So in the month of January, Mr. Yaovi made a return of 1,450,000. On the 2nd of January, he made a return of 3,100,000. On the 7th of January, he made a return of 1,100,000. On the 22nd of January, he also made a return of 450,000 on the 30th of January. That means in the whole of January, he made a total return of 6,100,000. And this will be transferred to the general ledger credit. So now we understand that the returns outward book is for recording purchases returns. What we are saying is that returns made out of purchases are recorded in the returns outward book. We also understand that the returns outward book can also be called the purchases returns book, or the purchases returns journal, or the returns outward journal. And then we are also aware now that the total in the purchases returns journal is transferred to the general ledger credit. That brings us to the end of the class. For questions and clarifications, please reach me on 081-36506-356 or send me an email, jeremiah.dosu@gmail.com. You can as well drop questions in the comment section. We'll go there and give you clarifications. Thank you.